Hello my darlings, welcome to the video. This is gonna be a very interesting video for me because I'm talking about my country. So this video is about Romania, the astrological energy of Romania. As you may or may not know, each country, just like people, each country has a birth chart. At one point, that country was created, to say so. It was proclaimed a country, it was acknowledged as a country, and that moment is taken as the moment of that country's birth. And based on that, we look at the birth chart of the country. For some countries, this is a little bit more complicated, especially if they are old countries. And it's very hard to pinpoint the hour, for some countries even the day. So yeah, for some countries it's a little bit complicated to say this is the birth chart because they are old. But for other countries it's complicated for other reasons. This is the story of Romania. It's been under the influence of other political forces, and at times it lost its independence, and then it was proclaimed the country, but then it changed, and it also the form of Romania, the political form of Romania also changed. Communism happened. And that was a whole other deal. And then after communism, Romania became democratic again. And since then we have another fate for the better, gratefully. Fuck communism. So, because of that, it's a little bit complicated to say this is the birth chart of this country. Because what version of that country are we talking about? If, like, for countries like the USA, it's quite clear. You get the moment it became a country and that's it. It kept being like that ever since. But for other countries like mine, it had multiple forms throughout history. So that's why it's kind of complicated to say this is the version of Romania that we're gonna take as the original version, and the one that dictates the birth chart, and therefore the evolution of the rest of its fate. So it's a bit complicated, but because I'm a Romanian myself and I know our history, I have chosen 2 dates. And one of them is our national day, when we celebrate Romania and the independence of Romania, which is the 1st of December, and the date itself, when Romania was proclaimed the country, like the country of Romania for the first time, it was 1st of December 1918. That's what we consider the date when Romania began being Romania. Romania existed prior to that, but in another way, another form of it. More divided. But after that, we had the world wars. The Second World War. And after that, things changed drastically, and I actually take another date as being the date of the nowadays Romania. And as I tell you the astrological influences and how they were reflected in history, you'll understand. So basically, the 1st of December, this is the chart of 1st of December 1918, which is the date when Romania became acknowledged as Romania for the first time. When Romanians themselves proclaimed themselves as, you know, citizens of a country called Romania, and the astrological configuration of the time is quite interesting. And basically, it's Capricorn rising. So, it's Capricorn rising with a stellium in Sagittarius in the 12th house. This is pretty important for a country to have a stellium in the 12th house. It's woo. This means a lot of things happened behind the scenes. The 12th house is the house of the hidden. It's also the house of karma. So, a lot of things indeed happened behind the scenes historically for Romania, especially during the Second World War, when a lot of things that had to do with the fate of Romania happened behind the scenes. They were kept in secret. Even the king of Romania at the time, because yes, Romania was a monarchy for a while. Even the king of Romania kind of had, he made alliances in secret and gave his best to keep them secret. Basically, in the Second World War, there were multiple internal forces in Romania, and one of them was pushing Romania in one direction, and another one of them was pushing Romania in another direction. And gratefully, by the end of the Second World War, the alliances that the King of Romania made in secret actually kept Romania in a safer place. And by the end of the Second World War and after the Second World War, Romania didn't suffer as many consequences as it would have had it gone the other way, without those alliances that were made in secret and kept secret for a while. And this is actually, it makes a lot of sense because it's Sagittarius in the 12th house. So Sagittarius talks about foreign lands, people from other countries, other cultures, and it's also the sun. This is something very important. It's the sun in Sagittarius. So this also is carried through in the nowadays version of Romania as well, because, well, look at me, I speak English quite well, and I'm open to foreign cultures, and so are a lot of Romanians. Like, I hope I'm not exaggerating, but I would say that from all of Eastern Europe, Romania is the country that is most open to the West and Western influences, and most willing to have a more Western approach to things rather than that classic Eastern European stagnant and degrading approach to living life. So, yeah, a lot of the things for Romania happened in secret, happened behind the scenes, but they got to the surface, most of them, because it's the sun in the 12th house. Now, another thing to point out is that this means that when Romania looks outside at other territories, at other countries, other cultures, it looks for a Sagittarius imprint. Well, which is the country that's Sagittarius rising? That's a very important political power at the time? The USA. The USA is Sagittarius rising. And the USA is a very important, if not the most important, currently, ally of Romania. I think it makes sense. So this is a little bit more in the open. This is more according to the energy of the sun in Sagittarius. So it's in the open, it's visible, and it gives power and freedom. Because Romania having USA as an ally, as a political ally, it did mean a lot for this country, and it did help us a lot in terms of improving ourselves, improving society, expanding our mentality, because Sagittarius is a lot about expanding. Okay, Venus is there as well, very close to the sun, and Venus, well, Venus is the planet of partnerships, and this basically is kind of what I just spoke about. Now, the ascendant of Romania at that time was at the 17th degree of Capricorn. And very close, at the 15th degree of Capricorn, there's Mars. What does this mean? Well, Mars brings wars and conflict, and it can even mean that you're torn apart, especially for a country. And Romania was. Because this version of Romania that I'm talking about, this is what historically we call the Great Romania. It's the biggest, it's the biggest form of Romania at that time, before the Second World War. Romania had its largest territory, and during the Second World War, basically Romania was torn apart, and after the Second World War, a lot of its territories were given to other countries. Yeah. So it's there, it was there, this energy was there. It's Mars very close to the ascendant, which means this country will, in terms of its identity, will have to meet conflict. And because it's in Capricorn, it's actually a conflict with a lot of history. Because bear in mind, this is not the USA. The USA is one of the youngest countries in this world at this time. And for the USA, like, conflicts that the USA has are not so rooted in history. Exactly because, well, it's just a history going 200 years back. But for Europe, and it's not just Europe, but right now I'm focusing on Romania. Romania is in Europe, Eastern Europe. So, because it's Mars in Capricorn, this type of conflict that Romania had to face is conflict that had a lot to do with history, with karma as well. And because this is the first house, it means that Romania had to fight for its identity. And that's how it was. We literally had to fight. Fun fact, it's not so fun. Romania never started one single war against anyone else throughout our history. Every war that Romania has been in It was a war started by someone else, either a neighbor, either a political empire that got to this place and also wanted the territories of Romania. It sucks. Romania had to fight for its identity even prior to the 1st of December 1918. Even prior to that, Romania had to fight for its identity. Hold on, let me fix those slides. Okay, so even before 1918, the historical versions of Romania and the medieval Romanian countries also had to fight for their identity. This is something that that goes back in history, like centuries back. Since the first emergence of the medieval Romanian countries, and they basically had to fight to be where they are because there was a time in European history when there were a lot of invasions, a lot of migrations from other lands, and those migrations were not peaceful. Like, those historical migrations were very aggressive. All of those tribes that came from other places, they came with war, they came with conquest. The Slavs were the major threat at the time, the major group of people doing that. It wasn't only them, but they were the main group of people doing that. And all of the countries around Romania are basically countries and nationalities formed through conquest. Ukraine, Hungary, Serbia, Bulgaria, all of them are countries formed through conquest. Romania is not. Basically, the ancestors of nowadays Romanians stayed in this place, and that's all they wanted to do, to just stay in this place. But, well, other people kind of brought war, so they kind of had to fight a lot. So it's shown in the ascendant. It's Capricorn rising with Mars very close to the ascendant. And it makes a lot of sense what I said, the history, the whole history of even the historical versions of Romania, the medieval countries inhabited by Romanians. Because when I say the medieval countries, basically in the Middle East, it wasn't Romania. The territory of nowadays Romania, it was basically 3 countries in that territory. All of them inhabited by Romanians. But yeah, it was the Middle East, so it was a lot of division. So there were 3 countries inhabited by Romanians that later on united and they became Romania, which started at this time, and this is why this is our national day, the 1st of December, because on the 1st of December 1999, basically the historical countries inhabited by Romania came together and they decided that they want to be one country, which is great. It's a great thing. But yeah, this whole historical conflict, this whole historical heritage of having to fight for your identity is seen in the birth chart of Romania. And it makes a lot of sense that it was there from before, because Mars is at the 15th degree, which is before the ascendant. The ascendant is at the 17th degree, So even before the ascendant, which marks the country itself, even before the emergence of the country, which was in 1918, there was this historical conflict and this need to fight, to defend who you are. Whew, this is a lot. Now, the next thing to look at is the Lord of the Ascendant, because I'm using the whole house system. I'm not using Placidus. Fuck that. I don't like Placidus. So the Lord of the Ascendant, this is heavy. The Lord of the Ascendant is in the 8th house, in Leo. This is Kronos or Saturn in Leo, in the 8th house. So basically, what this means is that Romania had to go through a lot of crisis moments in order to get visibility. Leo means being visible, being seen. But the 8th house is the house of crisis, the house of turmoil, the house of power struggles as well. And Saturn is there, which is the Lord of the Ascendant. So in order, this also is kind of like an echo of Mars in the 1st house. So basically the Lord of the 1st house in the 8th house of Leo. Like I said, this means that Romania had to go through crisis moments in order to get visibility. And even to this day, like, how many people actually know about Romania? But it also means, since this is Saturn, and Saturn is all about time, taking things slow and facing obstacles, and then getting the rewards for that in your old age, it means that Romania will get visibility with time, with age, after facing turmoil, after facing crisis moments, and even power struggles. And for countries, we all know what power struggles mean. Also, Neptune is there in the house, in the 8th house. Yeah, this is not a good combination. To have Saturn and Neptune in the 8th house, even though it's Leo, no, not a good thing. And also Leo is monarchy, and like I said, Romania was a monarchy for a while, but then it stopped being a monarchy, and then communism happened. Yeah, thank you Russians, thank you for communism, fuck you. So basically, Leo is monarchy, and the Lord of the Ascendant is in Leo, which means that at the time that Romania emerged as a country, it was wearing a crown. It was a monarchy. There was a king. But the monarchy had to go through crisis moments and power struggles, and it even died. The 8th house also means death. So it died, it went away. But at the same time, like I said, the 8th house is also a hidden house and a house of secrets. So the royal family probably had a lot of secrets, and probably some of them continue to keep those secrets. The descendants of that royal family, and basically there was a time when the king was basically pushed aside, even though he continued to be king, especially during the Second World War. Even though he continued to be considered the king, he was kind of pushed aside from the process of decision making, and there were other people making the decisions, the political decisions for Romania. Like I said, especially during the Second World War, and it's there. It's Neptune in the 8th house, in the same house with the Lord of the Ascendant in Leo. So the monarchy being pushed aside, Neptune, it's even, they were even made almost refugees, because like they actually had to flee, and it's a sad history. But yeah, monarchy ended, and communism began. And basically, because this is the 8th house, like I said, this is the house of crisis, of trauma, of transformation and death. So when the monarchy ended, so did this version of Romania. And then it had to go through one of the most traumatic times throughout its whole history. And I'm counting as well, like, ever since the existence of Romanians, which is in the Middle East. What Romanians had to go through during communism is one of the most traumatic things ever. And communism for Romanians was even more hard, even more harsh, was even harder than it was for other countries who had to face communism. Because during communism, the communist president went to Asia and to China and North Korea, and he saw what kind of approach those leaders there had, and he liked that. And when he came back, he did the same thing. So he had a cult of his own personality, basically, in the country. Like, people were supposed to almost worship him. And he took a lot of decisions that were very bad for the people. And the Romanians during communism had to face a lot of hardship, a lot of what's it called? A lot of lack of resources. They didn't have enough food, they didn't have enough anything. Not even heat, not even water. That's how hard it was. Yeah. So it wasn't a nice thing to go through. And also another thing that I want to point out is that in the 7th house, we had Jupiter and Pluto. So basically this means powerful enemies, because the 7th house is the house of partnerships, but also the house of open enemies. So this means that Romania had powerful, at the same time, powerful allies, but also powerful enemies. Just a moment. I'm annoyed by these lights. Okay. Also, another thing that I want to point out is that that version of Romania had Chiron in Pisces. So this means a lot of wounds that are almost ancestral and wounds that have a lot to do with spirituality. And basically it kind of ties in with the placement of the first house, because throughout history Romanians had to fight for their identity, and in the Middle East religion had a lot to do with that. And for a long time Romanians were oppressed by the Ottoman Empire, and they were Muslims. But the Romanians of the Middle East wanted to keep their Christian beliefs, and that kind of costed them. And it's Chiron in Pisces talks a lot about wounds that have a lot to do with your spirituality. But it's in the third house, so this means this also means wounds that can come from neighbors. The third house is also the house of mentality. So this means that what Romania started with was basically a wounded mentality. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Now the IC of Romania, which is basically the point that reveals the roots and how the people want to settle, is in Taurus. So Romanians themselves are very traditionalist, and well, they kind of are. But this means that the way these people want to settle, it's in a very docile way, in a very domestic way. So what the nation pursues in terms of its foundation as a nation is exactly this: being docile, being domestic, and having beautiful resources and beautiful family relations and a stable system of values. This is what the population would like to pursue in terms of its foundation as a nation. One last thing I want to touch on is the fact that the moon was in Scorpio. The moon was in Scorpio with the MC. And the MC is basically, it's kind of like the energy of the 10th house. It's your legacy, it's your public image, it's your career. And the moon is there. So basically this means that the people, the moon is the people in every chart of every country. The moon is the people. So the moon being in the same house with the MC, this means that the people are very hardworking, and basically the people themselves are the public image of the country. I bear with me a little bit for this one. Basically, for some countries, you know, when you think of some countries, do you literally think of the people of that country? Or do you think about, I don't know, when we think of France, for example, we don't instantly think about the French people themselves. The first thing that comes to mind is the Eiffel Tower, and then baguettes, and then wine and cheese and mimes and a fake pretense of being romantic, and the white flag. You know, it's not actually the people themselves, it's more like the image of the country. But this is the thing with Romania, because the moon is conjunct the MC, the public image of the country is the people themselves. To some extent, I think this is great. Now, the bad side of this placement is that the moon is in Scorpio. So this also, like, it's very similar to what this placement brought. It basically means that the people of Romania had to go through a lot of emotional turmoil and power struggles. And it also means that they had a lot of traumas to deal with. Traumas that were very, very collective. They, like, collective traumas. And it makes a lot of sense because we're talking about, like, this is the version of Romania that emerged right after the First World War. And then a little bit later came the Second World War. So they really had to face trauma. And then after the Second World War, like I said, communism happened, which was very traumatic for the people. Very. So this is the version of Romania that we would officially consider as Romania, but it's a little bit more complicated because, like I said, this was the version of Romania that was before communism. Then communism happened and Romania took another form. The constitution of Romania was changed, the political approach of Romania was changed. Like I talked about earlier, the monarchy ended, and Romania was declared a republic, a socialist republic, which basically meant a communist republic. And basically this version of Romania ended when communism began. After communism ended, you would think that Romania kind of brought back this version of itself, but then again, that's another thing. Because after communism ended, you know, that was another time. It wasn't the 1st of December 1918 anymore. It wasn't the same configuration anymore, even though it was very similar. Some things that are meant to happen will always happen, and the charts of my country show this very, very well. Because I did a lot of digging in order to find the second chart of Romania, which is the chart of nowadays Romania, the version of Romania after communism. Because even though our national date is still the 1st of December 1918, like I said, it's not the same. Romania is not the same Romania that this one was. It's not even the same in terms of territory. Because like I said, a lot of portions of this version of Romania were taken and given to other countries. And actually there's a huge, well, it's not enormous, but there's a big part of that version of Romania that was taken by the Soviets, and it was made a country of itself, which is the Moldavian Republic. So it was basically dismantled. So like it is shown in the chart, this version of Romania was dismantled. It died. It didn't have a long life. Even though it's Capricorn rising. But this is the thing. It's Capricorn rising with the Lord of the Ascendant in the 8th house. So this means that it died. It went through a lot of trauma shown by this placement in the 8th house. And the moon in Scorpio. Also, another thing that I want to point out, the moon in Scorpio is in the 11th house, which is, the 11th house is basically the house of dreams, aspirations, hopes, wishes. So what is deeply rooted in the population of Romania, exactly because of the historical traumas that the people went through, is power, the need for power. The moon shows emotional needs, and this is the moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is a sign of power. Because Romania was not a huge political player throughout history, it had to go through what it had to go through. It had to go through a lot of bad stuff. And this is because it was under the influence of more powerful political players. So because of that, it's kind of rooted in the subconscious of the population. A need, an aspiration to have more political power. And it's also shown in this stellium in the 12th house. It's a stellium in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign of freedom. So what the people aspired to was freedom. But they didn't quite have enough of it. During communism, they had none, unfortunately. But like I said, after communism, a new version of Romania started. But like it's shown here and here, a lot of the things, the major decisions that have a huge impact on the fate of this country, a lot of these decisions are taken in secret, behind closed doors. So that's how it was like at the end of communism as well. The fall of communism in Romania, it's very much tied into the identity of the country, because Romania was the last country in Eastern Europe where communism fell. The last one. Again, Capricorn rising. Once something starts happening, starts going and going and going, it takes a lot to seize that. It basically takes a long time to start something and get something going, and also a long time to stop something. This is the nature of Capricorn. Capricorn is basically inertia. So in nature, because of inertia, objects in nature tend to keep their state. You know, it's like with cars, with, you know, and other things, it's physics. Once something is moving, even when you force that to stop, because of the movement, it will kind of, you know, it will tend to still move a little bit. Same thing with energies. For Capricorn, this is how it goes. Even if you force something to stop, it will still go on for a little bit. So that's how it happened. That's how communism happened and ended in Romania. And because of all of this energy that makes things happen behind closed doors, the moment of transition for Romania from communism to a bit more of a aristocratic country, was very weird, and it was planned, actually. It was planned. It was basically a coup. So a lot of things were very weird during the revolution in Romania, and a lot of things were said that were lies. The people were lied to. You know, this is another thing. The Lord of the Ascendant with Neptune in the same house. Neptune is, the downside of Neptune is illusions and lies. And it also ties into this Chiron in Pisces, because Pisces, you know, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So yeah, people were wounded through manipulation, through lies, through illusions of what was actually going on. The Romanian Revolution, it's a very weird thing. It's something that would take me a lot to explain to other people. If you study that, it's kind of like a rabbit hole, basically. But alas, after doing some digging, I kind of found the date and hour of the moment when the nowadays version of Romania basically started officially. And based on that, I can take I can look at the birth chart. So basically, like I said, things that are meant to be will always be. So guess what? This new version of Romania is also Capricorn rising. Yeah, Romanians will always be Romanians. For those of you who don't know us, what I said will not make sense, but for us it makes a lot of sense, because when I say Romanians will always be Romanians, it basically means that Romanians don't change. And this is the nature of Capricorn. Capricorn doesn't change. And this has good things and bad things. Like, internally, we don't like this. Exactly because people change very slowly, if ever. And the Romanian society is a very slow-moving society, and we don't like that. Especially the younger generation, we don't like that. But externally, this is a fantastic thing, because it keeps us being us. Like I said, Romanians throughout their whole history faced a lot of threats, and a lot of other nations tried to conquer Romania and tried to assimilate Romanians into their own culture. The Slavs being the most keen on doing that, and the Hungarians as well, the Ottomans as well. It didn't happen. And like I said, all of the nations around Romania are nations that got to exist through conquest. Ukraine, well, yeah, Slavs. Basically, Slavs are a group of people that came from nowadays Poland, and they started migrating and invading other lands. So they're not historically native to all of the territories that they inhabit nowadays. Basically, the most Slavic Slavs are the Polish. So they got to all of the territories around us, and then also the Hungarians tried to conquer Romania, well, especially Transylvania. But it did not happen. Romanians are still Romanians. Exactly because of this Capricornian energy of not changing. Capricorn rules rocks. Rocks are dense and are hard. And you can hardly change the shape of a rock. But even if you change the rock, even if you dent the rock, it will still be a rock. So this is how Romanians are like. Romanians don't really change. Now, the second chart of Romania, this version of Romanians, is the most correct one. And I was so happy after I looked at this second chart, which is the chart of Romania after communism. Because this one, this is the historical Romania. This is what Romania went through. But this is what Romania is nowadays. This is fun. For me at least, it's fun to look at this chart. And you'll see what I... Oh, for fuck's sake, the lights! Okay. So, communism ended in 1989. And that's when the current version of Romania started. And this basically means that my country is a millennial. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, when I looked at this chart, I was amazed by the fact that it's still Capricorn. It's still Capricorn rising. So when I looked at this, I was like, it's the right chart. Like, come on. If you are Romanian, you know this is the right chart. But the major difference between the historical chart of Romania with this stellium in Sagittarius and the current chart of Romania is the fact that the stellium moved. And right now, we have a stellium in the first house. This means a lot. It's a lot. So, this is actually nice. Even though it's Capricorn. So, basically, the ascendant is at the 13th degree. Very similar to the previous ascendant. So, it's still in the midpoint of Capricorn. But now we've got the parts of fortune in the first house. So, my fellow Romanians, this means that we as a nation have the ability to make a fortune out of being ourselves. I know, usually you don't really... If you're Romanian and you hear this, you're like, really? But yeah, it means we can make a lot of fortune. It means Romania has the energy there to become a very rich country. Amazing, right? Romania, rich, wow. But there is displacement here. Now, because it's Capricorn, it takes a lot of time. It takes a long time. But it's there. Romania has this potential to become a very rich country. And rich especially in terms of ancestral resources and very much natural resources, and resources that are underground as well. Because the Capricorn is, the energy is an earth sign, but it's also kind of like an energy that goes underground. It's also a sign of mountains. And if you're Romanian watching this, by this point, things make a lot of sense, right? We actually have a lot of mountains, a lot of beautiful mountains, and a lot of resources in those places. Now, bear with me for what I'm saying, because even if there are corrupt politicians at this time selling our resources, this energy is here. So this, with time, the more people awaken, you know, the more we step into a better future for the whole collective of humanity, the more a better future for Romanians will manifest as well. So even if at this point there are politicians selling the national resources, with time there's a high chance that all of these natural resources and the richness of the country comes back into itself. This is great. It also means that a lot, this is not about the part of fortune, this is simply about the fact that it's a Capricorn rising. It means that a lot of the people born as Romanians are very old souls, and it means that a lot of them come to pay off karma. I know, for those of us that are enlightened and were able to hold space for others, it's not so pleasant. But once you understand this, it kind of makes sense for how some people are like. But here comes the interesting thing. We have an exact conjunction. So, my dears, I need to point things out. This is rare. Conjunctions happen. Conjunctions are not rare. There are a lot of times we see conjunctions in the charts of people and countries, but to see an exact conjunction, this is rare. And the fact that this conjunction happens in a stellium in the first house, the people of Romania as a collective have the potential to really become badasses. So the conjunction is at the 5th degree and 28th minute of Capricorn. It's an exact conjunction of Uranus and the Sun. This is my sign for Uranus. I know it's not the official way that people depict Uranus, but I think this is more accurate for how the planet is like. So this is Uranus, this is the Sun. They both are at the same degree and same minute. It's an exact conjunction in the first house. So this means Romanians have, unlike this chart, right now Romanians have it more in them to actually stand up for themselves in so much a better way, to say so, because we no longer have Mars in the first house. Historically, Romanians also had to stand up for themselves because it was Mars in the first house. But now we no longer have Mars in the first house. We have a stellium, and in the stellium there's an exact conjunction of the Sun and Uranus. This is very interesting because the Sun and Uranus are opposing planets in the natural zodiac. They are natural opposites. The Sun rules Leo and Uranus rules Aquarius. So this means that the population of Romania, with time, with age, has the potential to bring opposites together and to make peace between opposites. The population of Romania has the potential to bring peace and balance between the need of shining and being in the spotlight, which is Leo and the Sun, and claiming your identity and claiming who you are, yourself, and at the same time caring for others, being there for others, which is more like Aquarius energy and therefore Uranus energy, being dedicated to the betterment of society, of the collective. And I tell you, especially in my generation, there are a lot of people who are very focused on making society better. Making society better through innovation, through things that are new for this society. And this is great. This is fantastic. Because it's Capricorn, it takes a lot of time, but it's there, it's happening. Also, because it's Capricorn, it means that the people bringing in this change are, like I said, old souls who come in to bring this innovation. Because it's a conjunction of the Sun and Uranus, it talks about innovation, doing things differently. And because it's Uranus, one of the major, how should I say it, strengths, one of the major strengths of Romania for its future and for its current state and its future, it's technology. Because it's Uranus, Romania is able to shine through technology and innovation. This is great. Also, because both the Sun and Uranus are, even though the Sun is the energy of the self, it's also an energy that is very caring and very generous. And Uranus is the humanitarian. So with time, more and more people coming incarnate in Romania will be able to dedicate themselves to the betterment of the collective. This is great news. And it also means that a lot of old souls come incarnate in this place to be visionaries and to serve the collective through this nature of themselves being visionaries. Both the Sun, like when you have the Sun and Uranus in the same place, it's there. It's the energy of visionaries, people who see things and they see them clearly. Because it's Capricorn, this means two things. This whole energy of innovation comes to dismantle the past and the old ways that are not productive, but also bring in old ways that were productive. And it also means that a lot of Romanians can actually tune in to their ancestral self in order to bring in more energy from there and more awareness from there. And like I said, old souls, ancient souls coming incarnate in this place to serve humanity, serve the collective of the country, and then humanity. This is great. And we also have Neptune in the first house. Hold on a bit. Okay, I had to get my phone charging because I was losing battery. So, we also have Neptune in the first house, and this ties in to this energy of visionaries. Now, this also talks about old souls coming incarnate, and it's Neptune, it's Uranus, it's the Sun. Romania has the great potential to serve as a spiritual leader. I mean it. I'm not talking about religion at this point. I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm talking about New Age. I'm talking about souls coming incarnate, a lot of souls coming incarnate to shift the paradigm. And there is this thing, this idea that every age has a certain area that is kind of a leading area for that age. For the age of Pisces, the leading area was the Middle East. For the age of Aquarius, surprisingly, it's Eastern Europe. So yeah, Eastern Europe is the area where a lot of spiritual energies, a lot of spiritual focus is right. I'm lost for words. So basically, for the age of Aquarius, the leading area of the planet in terms of spirituality will be Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europe will give a lot of teachers, a lot of spiritual teachers for humanity, for the next age. And Romania has this energy here. It can give a lot of spiritual figures. I repeat, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about true spirituality, because it's got Neptune, the Sun, and Uranus in the same place. So Neptune is spirituality. Capricorn is old. It's ancient. The Sun and Uranus in the same place mean innovative things, visionaries. So this is great. Also, we have Saturn in the first house, very close to the ascendant. This is great. To have the Lord of the Ascendant very, very close to the ascendant itself. It's amazing. With all of the traumatic history that Romania had to go through, Romania has actually been blessed at this point in its history with this placement, even though it's Capricorn. It's a stellium in the first house. And 3 of those planets in the stellium are outer planets. One of them is Saturn, which is the Lord of the Ascendant. And then it's Uranus and then Neptune. So those planets, they are not so personal. They rule the collective more than the person. And this is great. Basically, the Romanian people have a lot of potential to really serve humanity as a collective. This is great. Saturn in the first house. This also talks about challenges and obstacles and a lot of hardship for the Romanian people. But because it's in the same house with the Sun and with Uranus, both having this powerful conjunction, this placement is not a bad placement. It's actually a very good placement because it's domicile and it's right next to this beautiful conjunction. So basically, no matter what happens, Romanians, exactly because we are Romanians, we have it in ourselves to master this Capricornian energy of going through challenges and going through hardship without crumbling, without falling apart, basically. So it's great, and like I said, a lot of old souls coming incarnate more and more. This is great. A lot of old souls able to act very young because of this. And then we have Mercury at the 24th degree of Capricorn. Now, this is not such a spiritual placement, and this is a very this is something that results in something that is a very day-to-day thing for us as Romanians. It's basically the fact that we are very good with languages. Romanians are very good at speaking other languages, especially English, but not only English. Like, Romanians have an extraordinary ability to speak other languages. And this is great. And because it's in the same house with the part of fortune, we can actually make fortune with that. Of course, with time. So everything I said takes time because it's Capricorn. But because of this domicile of Saturn in the first house, this need, remember what I said with the moon in Scorpio in terms of the first version of Romania. There was a subconscious need of the collective to have more power. It's happening. But it's happening through this Saturnian way. Saturn in Capricorn. So Saturn in Capricorn, Saturn is authority and authority figures. In the downside of that, the lower manifestation of that is that Romanian society will give a lot of oppressive authority figures, and we know that. We face that every day. That's not something new. But the more Romanians look at their true essence as souls, as spiritual people, the more they are able to manifest the good polarity of this placement. And the good polarity of this placement is exactly answering that need of Romanians in terms of that ancestral need for having more power. Capricorn is a sign of power as well. And Saturn in the first house can give the portal for the people to claim their power. But they have to do it by facing oppressive leaders, oppressive authority figures, and then claiming that power for themselves and being authority figures themselves. And the way to do that is through this Sun-Uranus conjunction, which means breaking free. Uranus is an energy of breaking free, but the way the Sun makes this happen is consciously. It's a fully aware manner of breaking free. And because it's with Neptune, it's there to answer a spiritual need for the people. This is great. Now, please bear in mind the fact that I'm reading these energies more and more towards their higher manifestation. I don't want to get into the low polarities of these placements. I want people to focus on the higher polarities of each energy and just focus on that, and therefore be able to anchor in our reality more and more of that. And like you saw with this stellium in the first house, there's actually a very good thing in terms of the higher manifestation of these placements. It's a very good thing coming in. Blessed be. Another great thing is the fact that we have the North Node in the second house. The second house is the house of resources. Money, possessions, value system. All of this is being renewed because it's Aquarius. Aquarius is an energy of renewing things, making things new, breaking away from the past and setting a new way of doing things, a new mentality. And it's all about freedom. So because we have the North Node here, it's something very similar to this placement. We have a lot of, as a nation, we can create a lot of wealth for ourselves through technology and through innovative things. This is great. Romania is actually quite blessed through the age of Aquarius. I love this. And we also have Venus in the second house. This is also great. Venus is blessing our resources, and another resource for Romania at this time is relations with other people. And it's Venus in Aquarius. One of the lower polarities of this is that there may be a lot of divorces in society, but a very good thing happening thanks to this placement is that women, Venus rules women, women claim their freedom. Women break away from the past, from the old narrative, because it's Venus in Aquarius. So women disrupt the old narrative, and they can usher in a new mentality for themselves. And this is great. It also means that women are a resource for Romania. This can sound very, very bad, but, Romania is the first country in Europe in terms of the speed of our internet, which is very Uranus, the North Node in Uranus, and the number of girls doing video chat. Venus in Uranus, in the second house in Uranus. So, and modeling as well. So the North Node in Uranus, one of our resources is technology itself. And like I said, we are the first country in Europe in terms of the speed of internet. And a lot of the girls doing video chat in Europe are Romanians. On another note, it means that women, and not only women, people on a general level, the beauty, the new standard of beauty for people is very new, is not something that people were considering beautiful in the past. Okay, the IC is still in Taurus. So again, the way Romanians as a nation look at their foundation as a nation is through this energy of Taurus, which is all about resources, a materialistic approach, a pursuit for pleasure in life, materialistic pleasure, a need for resources, a need for positions, money, and family relations, and peace. And this is interesting. In the 7th house, again, remember what I said, some things that are meant to be will always be there. The historical version of Romania had Jupiter in the 7th house. This version of Romania also has Jupiter in the 7th house. So, gratefully, because at this point we no longer have Pluto in the 7th house, this means that we no longer have power struggles with other people. Pluto brings in power struggles. So because we no longer have Pluto in the 7th house, we no longer have that, gratefully, and we only have Jupiter. This can mean a better manifestation for Jupiter in the 7th house, a more peaceful manifestation because it's crab. And, I'm sorry. Well, again, our ally is, our most important ally is the USA, which is Sagittarius rising. The ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. But then again, in the in the natal chart of the USA, Jupiter is in Crab. So there you go. Jupiter in Crab in our 7th house, which is the house of partners. And this is great. And it's also at the 5th degree, which is an opposition to this conjunction. But because it's Jupiter, it's not such a tensioned opposition. It's not so tensioned. Jupiter brings blessings even in an opposition. And with the Sun here, this basically means an opposition between the Sun and Jupiter. And whenever these two guys have an aspect, even when it's a tensioned aspect, because it's the Sun and the Jupiter, it will always have good things coming out of it. It will never be so intense, and it will always have good things coming out of it, and this is great. So, even when there are opponents for Romania, there will always be powerful allies, and even when there is opposition, it's toned down because of the powerful allies, and there's always something good coming out of our relations as a country. This is great. And also a lot of expansion, a lot of mental expansion. But also the lesson that the Romanian society is supposed to learn from other people is how to be more domestic, how to expand. Jupiter is expansion, and crab is domestic life. So the lesson we are supposed to learn from other people is how to expand our domestic life. Because Romanians are far too focused on the public life, the legacy, their image, the career and their work. Sometimes it's also because we're forced to be focused on that. But the other people that we have as a country relations with will teach us that, how to be more domestic and how to expand our domestic life. It also means that Romanians are able to welcome a lot of foreigners in their families. So on one hand, it means that Romanians are very welcoming people for foreigners on a general level, but it can even go as far as a lot of foreigners being brought into Romanian families, a lot of Romanians marrying foreigners. So it also means having actual blood family relations to other nations. The South Node is in the 8th house, and this means a lot less turmoil for Romania, gratefully. A lot less trauma. Okay, we also have Chiron in Crab. This means a lot of wounds as a collective, as a nation, and also a lot of wounds in terms of our relation to other people. Well, history kind of shows that. Then we have Pluto in Scorpio. Like I said, this country is basically a millennial. And it also means that it does carry a lot of shadow, a lot of traumas from the past, but also a great potential to face that and purge that and transform itself through that. And this is great. And it can also indicate that more and more people are paying attention to psychology and their psyche. And well, maybe with time this can amplify. Okay, and then we have Mars in the 12th house and the Moon in the 12th house. Now, the Moon in the 12th house in Sagittarius means that a lot of Romanians go to other countries, and this is very true. Because of the hardships of our country, a lot of Romanians go to other countries and they work there, and you can literally find Romanians in so many other countries, so many. But it also means that collectively Romanians are more optimistic. Even though we have a stellium in Capricorn, it means that we have more optimism, and that is able to help us go through things. Now I also want to show you something. It's kind of like a yin-yang. The ruler of Sagittarius is in Crab, and the ruler of Crab is in Sagittarius. So it's kind of a yin-yang dynamic between the moon and Jupiter. But Mars also being in the 12th house, the high manifestation of that is that finally war is happening in other lands. Gratefully. No longer in our own lands. War is happening abroad. This is great. It can also mean that some Romanians who go abroad may face conflict there, a lot of conflict, but I don't want to dive too much into that topic. So yeah, this is the chart, or better said, the charts of Romania, and this is how we analyze the charts of countries. For me, analyzing the chart of Romania is probably easier because I am a Romanian myself and I know our history. If you're not a Romanian and you watched all of this video, thank you, because it's a long video. If you have any suggestions, or if you're Romanian but you want me to analyze another country, regardless who you are, if you have suggestions, drop them in the comments. Yeah, this has been great, and I hope there are enough Romanians to listen to this video and the message that I brought, and hopefully this gives you a lot more confidence and a lot more it makes you a lot more able to trust in a better future. Thank you.